Hello, Aquano here, and a new character is about to be released, which means Aquano is back for another quick guide. This time we're tackling Chord, the first 5-star strategist, and a character that's gonna shake the meta. Pretty much everyone is gonna is gonna pull for her, so yeah, I think this guide will be very helpful. We're not gonna be talking much about like personas and like comps in general, because she's a very versatile character. You can play her with pretty much every single DPS that is released for now. But we're gonna talk about who do you replace, right? Because we already have a team for pretty much every DPS. But who do we replace? And that's the first thing we're gonna talk about. So let's get right into it. So the question is, who do we replace in every single comp? Let's start with our two standard DPS, Ryuji and Ann. Ann has already a very good team that works well with each other, the Fire team, including Lufel and Ki with herself, ideally Phoebe as their navigator, but Okyan works too. In this case, since Ayaka, Chord, does heal a little bit, you're probably going to replace Lufel for most of the fights. But if it's a very tough fight in which you cannot survive without Lufel, then you obviously have to replace Ki. When it comes to Ryuji, his team wasn't really set in stone. You would either use like double support, which is Riddle, Leon, or you would use Leon and Soy. Leon has an insane synergy with Skull because he removes his HP and gives him a shield, which is exactly what Skull wants. Skull wants to fall below 25% HP to get rebound, right? So with Leon as a support, he can get rebound easily. So you don't want to replace Leon. It's a no-brainer. You want to replace the other one. Now, some people might say, oh, Ayaka does have anti-synergy with Ryuji because she automatically heals him. Now, while yes, you're not entirely wrong, it's not as bad as you think because you have to use an ult to activate her automatic healing, which means you can get a rebound before that. Now, let's talk about our first two limited 5-star characters. For Joker, it's a no-brainer. You cannot remove Rin. She's just very, very good for him. She was basically made for him. So you want to replace the second one, which is either going to be Leon or your healer. So you want to play Chord instead. When it comes to Yui, you want to use Chord every single time. If there is an electric boss in the patch rotation, you want to use Chord on the Yui team every single time. Keep her for Yui. She has an amazing synergy for Yui. Yui pretty much kind of needs Chord to be viable. When we saw the buffs for Yui a couple months ago, we immediately thought of Chord because now her ult lasts 2 turns, right? Yui's ult, which means with Chord she can have 100% ult uptime, which means her follow-up attacks will be guaranteed at all time, right? So it is very, very good. Also, now her skill 1, Chord skill 1, shocks, which wasn't the case before, so that's even better for Yui. So for the Yui team, you would probably replace Motoha, because Motoha is in general not that good of a character. But if it's a fight with not much need for healing, you could replace her sustain. The thing is, Soy as a sustain has so much debuff potential that it might honestly be better to just play Soy Chord with Yui. Now, to finish this section, let's talk about Yusuke and Makoto. For Yusuke, you wanna keep Yuki because her shields and defense buffs are a must for Yusuke. So if you are gonna use Chord with him, you're probably gonna replace Rin. But if it's a game mode with 2 teams, I recommend using Chord on the other team since his team works well together. Rin, Yuki, and Yusuke. Now, if you have Yusuke but you don't have Rin, then it's a no-brainer. Now, for the Makoto team, obviously you wanna keep Vino. Vino is made for Makoto. They have an insane synergy together. So you want to replace the 3rd slot, which usually was just a healer. So replacing the healer with Chord is a no-brainer. Most of the time with Makoto's healing and Chord's healing, you're not going to need a healer that often. If you have more questions about team building, feel free to ask me in the comments. If you haven't pulled for Makoto yet, and you're planning to top up again, I got the perfect service for you. I've used this service in the past for other gacha games like Honkai Star Rail, and I'm very happy to tell you guys that they have decided to sponsor me for this video. I am obviously talking about LD Shop, an amazing website that allows you to just, save up on your purchases. There's absolutely no downsides to making your purchases in this website. As you can see here, you save money for every single kind of purchases. The website is also giving out 15% off coupons for every single person that registers. And it is also important to keep in mind that you can proc the double bonus in this website. So don't worry about getting your first time purchase double bonus. It is a very, very trustworthy site. I wouldn't take the sponsor if it wasn't. Now, it's very simple to top up on this website. First of all, you have to choose which one you want to buy. So you click top up here. And then you will have to put your UID. Now here it says your order is pending. You just have to add your information. There you go here. Make sure to use the link in the description for 15% off. And thank you LD Shop for sponsoring this video. Now let's talk about skill rotation and priority. Now there's two ways to do a chord rotation, but no matter what, you always want to start with your skill 2 unison notes. Why? Because that allows you to choose a co-star. And choosing a co-star is very important to do as soon as possible because your other abilities become better when you have a co-star. For example, using skill 2 to grant co-star to one ally first makes it so your skill 1 does an insane amount of damage later. And then when you use your skill 3 to make them use their highlight immediately, them being a co-star is better. Now, in the skill 3 description, it doesn't say anything about co-star, but when you go to her talent, one of her passives backing track, it says when an ally uses a highlight, increases target's attack by 8% for one turn, and when the target has co-star, increase effect by 1.5. Now, it's not always going to be 8%, it's going to be higher as you level up your character, but that means that you want your ally to be a co-star before you use the ult. So the most important thing is to always use skill 2 first, and then you either do skill 2, skill 3, or skill 2, skill 1, skill 3. Now, even if you always start with skill 2, your most important skill is the skill 3, Catchy Hook. The reason why Chord is so good is because she is able to give people free highlights that ignore the cooldown time. So your skill 3 Catchy Hook will have to be leveled up ASAP in priority. After that, obviously level up Unison Notes, your skill 2. And after that, you can level up your ult and Distortion, your skill 1. Now, for Revelations, her set is pretty obvious. Now, she has other options, but like every buffer, you want to use Prosperity with a Trust space card just to increase your buffing effects. Also, the Prosperity set allows you to start the battle with 25% highlight charge, which is very good for Chord, because the earlier you use highlights, the earlier you can heal, which means you can increase your survivability with Chord and not need a healer. Now, when it comes to main stats, you have a lot of options on the moon. You can either go attack or healing effects. And even HP works. Like, for example, if you don't want to farm Revelations right now, if you don't have an attack or healing effect moon, you can just slam an HP one. For the star, I recommend crit rate, but if you don't have a crit rate one, an attack one works well too. For the planets, it's pretty much the same as the moon, but you can't have healing effects on the planets card, so either attack or HP main stat. Now, for substats, you want as much attack percent substats as you can, not attack molt. Attack molt is not as good as attack, because she is a support, but then you also want a lot of crit rate and crit molt. So attack, crit rate, crit molt, and then for third priority, you want stats that allow her to survive, so HP and defense. Now it's time to talk about her 5-star weapon, compared to her 4-star weapon, and is it worth it? Now, the discussion about if you should pull for her weapon is always about comparing it to the A1, because if you are gonna pull for her weapon, is it better to use those resources to pull for another copy of Chord? Now, her 5-star weapon is very, very good. There's two main things about it. First of all, it gives a flat 15% attack to the ally who has the co-star. But the really clutch thing about this weapon is that you enter the battle, you start the battle with 40% highlight energy. And then if you have the prosperity set, that means you start at 65%, which allows you to get the highlight extremely fast, which does help your rotations. Now, her A1 gives 15% crit rate to your co-star, and it automatically chooses a co-star, which means you don't have to waste a turn using your skill 2. So both her A1 and her weapon make your rotation smoother, better. Now the issue with the A1 is that the 15% crit rate is very good, but if you have well-built units, it might not matter, because it just makes you a bit more consistent. But it is very, very good. It makes playing more comfortable, right? You have to reset less often. You have less chance to not get the crit. And being able to skip skill 2 in the rotation is also not that big of a deal, because if you're gonna skip skill 2, what are you gonna use instead? Well, you can't use skill 3 that often, so you have to use skill 1, right? And her skill 1, yes, is a bit of chip damage, but it isn't really much. So if you only have the budget to go for only A1 or only weapon, I would choose the weapon personally, especially since it takes less resources to get, because weapon pulls are a lot cheaper than character pulls. But if you're a whale, obviously this doesn't matter. Her A6 is probably one of the best A6 of all time, so go grab her A6. But here I'm talking to dolphins, I'm talking to low spenders. Grab her weapon before her A1, but if you really, really want to, you can grab both, because she is definitely the best 5-star we've had pretty much since launch. She's gonna be a staple for the P5X meta. And that's it for our quick and efficient guide for Chord. This one was less quick than the others, I have to admit, but I really wanted to like give you all the details about team composition and stuff, because this is a character I know pretty much almost everyone is gonna use. So yeah, I wanted to make my guides a bit more detailed this time. But thank you for watching. It was Aquano, and I'll see you guys next time.